Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Tuesday, January 6th edition of the Daily Pulse. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you here from the WellPoint Studios in downtown Lowell, our second show of year two. Our first, of course, was a special live broadcast from the Lowell Memorial Auditorium yesterday, where the Lowell City Council was sworn in, was inaugurated, and then the City Council selected its mayor and vice mayor, which created all sorts of political drama and maybe a few things that very few people might have had on their bingo cards going into yesterday. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about some other city stuff, and we're going to make some predictions about 2026. And you know what that means if you listen to me in my radio days, if you watched last year here on Inside Lowell, when we talk about predictions, Marty Laurie is the guy who's not afraid to make them and very often proven correct.
Even the tougher ones.
Even some of the tougher ones. Marty Laurie, Happy New Year to you. Thanks for being here this morning.
Happy New Year. And I want to condolences to Phil Shea's family.
Yes.
Phil is a great guy. And at the same time, I want to congratulate the new counselors and school committee members. And I want to say congratulations to the luckiest man in America.
Who?
Governor Walz of Minnesota.
Oh, God.
He had to go, and when they attacked Venezuela and took the president, that was perfect timing for him to say, I'm not running.
Perfect cover. By the way, did you hear the latest conspiracy theory coming out of there? That Amy Klobuchar
She's running for
thinking
governor.
of running for governor, and that if she wins, she will then appoint Tim Walz to replace her as senator. I always like a good conspiracy theory.
There's nothing wrong with that.
We've seen some crazier things happen. That would be quite a good thing to have on your bingo card.
If your political career is going down the toilet, you're a complete embarrassment. To have them snatch a president out of another country, is the perfect time to say you're not running.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if it's a president you've put a bounty on you.
Oh, gee, yeah.
We're going to talk about all of that. Marty's going to give us his local predictions for 2026, some state predictions. You've got one that I'm gonna pay attention to, only because you predicted one other person would eventually not be a party's nominee for a very high executive branch office. We'll talk about that. We're going to make some federal elections as well.
Yep.
First, let me thank my Daily Pulse sponsor, Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, you need to get in touch with Ray today. And his newest listing, the Club Diner, the historic Club Diner on Dutton Street in Lowell, on the market, the business, the building, the property, all of it, pretty good price as well. If you want in, or again, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, find Ray today online, realestaterayBooten.com. That's realestaterayBooten.com. I also want to thank my friends at WellPoint, sponsoring us here, hosting us here in the WellPoint Studios. It is the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members at WellPoint. Your whole health is their whole point. Thank you to WellPoint. Thank you, Ray. In a little bit, we'll thank our other podcast sponsors here at Inside Lowell. But let's get right to it. The mayoral selection yesterday, Marty Laurie. Everyone thought it was a horse race, again, between Danny Rourke and Vesna Noon. We started hearing, a third horse was closing
right
fast, even though that horse was not interested in the job publicly. And voila, when all was said and done, by yesterday morning, we knew there wouldn't be much drama, that Eric Gitcher had secured the 6 votes to become mayor. All it took was a second ballot. There was some obligations met on the first ballot, and then on the second ballot, Eric Gitcher had 6 votes. Danny Rourke had 5. Eric Gitcher becomes the mayor of Lowell.
Mike, I congratulate Eric. Everyone wants to be mayor. I feel bad for Danny. Danny was a great mayor, probably the best I've ever seen. But it's supposed to be ceremonial, and they rotate it so everyone can kind of get a shot. And so congratulations to Eric. And
we all thought that if it wasn't going to be Danny or let me talk Counselor Rourke or Counselor Noon, let me call them by their titles, we figured it would be Counselor Mercier. You talked about that. You
I thought
even
Rita,
up to early last week, you were saying to me, watch for Rita, and it never materialized. Counselor 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐲, when you think about the great power play, I don't want to call it a power play, but great political plays in putting together a coalition to get something that you want, whether it's a vote passed or an office.
Right.
That coalition that Counselor 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐲 put together was really fascinating.
It was,
to me.
Last year my prediction was they would run people in the acre, which they could win, and Belvedere, which they could win. And now everyone's saying to me, well, that was very easily. Yeah, you could have predicted that. Well, you should have, because I did. I own it. And but the coalition came about, I think, because of the 7-4 votes on the council. Okay, Vesna has his group, and Eric and Corey, and they're not always aligned, but they're that 4 votes. And they brought in people who now they have 7 votes. So they're going to control. Most of the council votes will be 11-0, 11-0, 11-0. But key votes, I think the split might happen earlier. I thought the split on the council would have been around budget time, you would see. And especially with someone like Councilor Duran coming in, brilliant individual. And congratulations to her. She was with Eric on both ballots. So you couldn't come back and say, well, why did you switch your ballot?
Did you have that on your bingo card? You look at Belinda Duran. I looked at Belinda Duran's supporters and the people around her, and they are, in essence, the same people that are around and who back Vesna Noon. So I always assumed she was a Vesna Noon supporter. I was wondering what was up when she didn't come out on day one and just say, I support him for mayor. And then you look, Vesna Noon supporters are also the same group around Belinda Duran.
She's not a politician.
She went for Eric 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐲 right off the bat, ballot one. She ended up being the kingmaker.
Right. We look at things like in politics, who's going to back Eric and who's going to back Danny and Vesna. She's not a politician. I think she looked at it and said, Vesna can't win. Who do I want to be the next mayor? And I give her a lot of credit. She's a lot smarter and more political. I don't know if she's politically astute or she's just that smart. He doesn't have a route. I'm going to go this way. Yeah. And very direct. I give her a lot of credit. And both ballots.
You mentioned the coalition. Coalitions break, change. How do you think that coalition is going to work together on some of the key issues? The first one that bumps up to me, and I'll say it right now, is tonight. They had their first very important vote yesterday, who the mayor is. Right. Tonight, they won't vote tonight. But there is a motion on there, a new loan order for the high school, 36.4 million, I believe is the number, as opposed to the 40 million we're rounding off now. Eric 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐲 is now the mayor. He, along with John Dakota, shot that 40 million down.
Right.
Is 36 enough to get it done? Well, Counselor 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐲, now Mayor 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐲, does he change his vote because as the mayor, he's now chairs the school committee and he feels obliged? Sean McDonough, who voted for Eric 𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐲, sits now on the city council with him. He is a teacher at Lowell High School. Right. How does he vote on it? Can he vote on it?
I think he can because it's not his salary. It's not his benefits. Tonight you're going to have 11 councilors there. So you're going to have all the councilors.
Correct.
So they only need 7 votes.
No, they need 8. Just to correct, they need 8 votes. You need to have 8 of 11.
I thought it was 7.
No, it needs to be 8 of 11. They had the 7 the last time.
Okay, so they have 8.
So, and by the way, they will not vote. Tonight is I'm told, the first hearing. Right. It has to go to a public hearing.
But Vesna is going to be there now.
Vesna
so there's your 8.
The assumption is that he was going to be a yes vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, here's the funny part. Eric is now the mayor. He can't speak unless he come off the podium. Remember that. Eric was very vocal on the council floor.
Sure, but Dan Rourke spoke a lot from the podium. Not for a lengthy period
You're
of
not
time.
supposed to.
But,
You're not supposed to. So Eric is going to have the podium, so he's not going to be. You can give him a quick opinion, okay? But you can't sit there like a councilman and get you 3 minutes. You're not supposed to. So Eric loses the microphone. Eric made his point, I think, with John, that there could be, now there was a $4 million cut.
Yeah.
Okay, so they made their point.
But no indication of where that cut is coming from.
It doesn't matter.
How realistic it is and whether it's the last request that we're going to have. I'm starting to hear there's more requests coming.
You're probably right. But the point is you asked them to relook at it and come back. Now they're coming back $4 million less. If they don't put this, if there's more requests coming down the line after this, there's a lawsuit. I think this is going to end up in court. And but I think they're going to go with it because they made their point. Mm-hmm. You looked, there's $4 million coming back.
So you believe Councilor Gitcher and Councilor Dakota will do it? Because my question is, you were saying, well, they'll Vesna Noon is there. The assumption is he becomes a yes vote, which would have given it 8 the first time around. Yeah. But you've lost 𝐌𝐚𝐫𝐿, who was a yes vote. Sean McDonough, is he a yes vote? Is he a no vote? And again, you're saying he will be allowed to vote. I'm
sure
he works in that building.
So what?
What if
all the city councilors work out of City Hall? They vote on that budget.
Yeah, but that's their task, is to vote on the budget.
Well, his task is to teach, not to do building maintenance. He's not voting on and he's not voting on building the high school. He works there.
What if? Let me bring you a scenario. What if voting? And by the way, I have no reason to think that you're incorrect, and
right.
And I have no information. But so they don't get the 30. They didn't get the 40 million approved. Let's say they don't get the 36 million approved.
They will.
Now you got to start. Theoretically, you have to cut some type of program. Right? Something has to disappear. What if that thing that gets cut affects the program that Sean McDonough is in? I believe he's a special ed teacher. His wife works there as well. I don't doubt you. I'm wondering, is it as cut and dried?
If I'm on a new council, I'm going to say, Mr. Manager, you got $21 million in free cash. Okay? Don't cut these programs. Right. We can move it over. Jerry Nutter, who's the most astute person I've ever met outside of probably Tom Moses and Connor Baldwin on maintenance of effort, will tell you the money's there. Okay? Jerry is great at this. So you're going to have to listen to Jerry. Think of this. You got 3 new councilors. You think they're going to come into the first 2 meetings and make waves? This is not going to happen. They're going to come in. They're going to vote. If the vote isn't tonight, they can always get a thing from the law department. Can he vote? I'm sure he can. He only works there. He works for the school department. He could be at another school tomorrow. So.
But well, for now he's not. That's my question: is can he vote on the budget?
No, because
he can't vote on the school budget.
The school department budget is salaries and wages and benefits. He cannot vote on that.
Okay, but so
this is not salary and wages.
The school department budget is part of the overall city budget. So he can't vote on the budget, period.
Not the school building. No, it's not. He can vote on that. He has nothing to do with the salaries. He has nothing to do with the benefits. All he does is work in the building.
So he can vote on the overall school budget that's part of the overall city budget.
He can't.
But that's my question. Are they going to have to do that as 2 separate votes then? Because
I don't know.
The school budget is baked into the city's 600 million or whatever that number is.
I thought the high school was supposed to be a special assessment.
I've moved beyond. Sorry, I may have confused you. I've moved beyond the high school. Now I'm talking about in June when they vote for the budget.
No, they can't.
Last year they voted for the budget, and the manager within that city budget of 600 million, again, whatever that number was, had a number set aside for the schools.
Right.
And then they came back, and Council Dakota said, "No, I want you to put 2 more million back in there," and they passed that. So the vote is on the city budget, which includes the school budget. Can he vote on the city budget?
He can vote on. I would say, tell you the truth, because they're not. If I remember right, the school department comes in and says, we need $30 million, blah, 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 blah. You vote on that. When you come into the budget, every department is separate.
Correct.
assessors, clerks. You vote on everyone. So the school department should be a separate vote. And
that was my question.
And
Will they have to take a completely separate vote for the school budget? Because last year it wasn't scheduled to be, and then it ended up they had to come back and vote for an extra $2 million because they approved the city budget, and then the superintendent of schools.
That's crazy because I used to see the superintendent of school come in, and they would say, we need X amount of dollars. This is what we're asking for approval.
Yep. And he was told no this past year.
No, they will always vote it. But he cannot vote on the school budget that includes salaries and wages. That if they put that in the city budget, and I don't know why they would, then he can't. That'd be a good question.
Corey Williams might be the busiest man.
He may be.
Council meetings in the coming year
they should keep the school building aside, and they should keep the school budget aside, because you come into the maintenance of effort, and I've always had an understanding of it, but not a great one. And Jerry Nutter is the best I've seen outside, like I say, Tom Moses and Connor Baldwin. And if you put that into the city budget, to me, it just doesn't make any sense.
Right. So you believe, and by the way, I happen to agree that the changing the number from 40 to 36 point whatever it is enough to get 8 city councilors to say, give them the money and we'll worry about tomorrow.
When Pedro,
I happen to agree. So
when Pedro Martinez and Roger Clemens beamed a batter, they didn't beat all 9. They made their point, and they moved on.
I like that analogy. So John Dakota and Eric Gitcher
they made their point.
Jim out in Skanska and drilled them. And
do your homework. Come back with something realistic.
All right.
And I give them credit for it, and they moved on.
Great. Great analogy. I always love a great analogy. So again, an interesting day, a monumental day in Lowell political history yesterday. Good luck. Congratulations to all the councils and school committee members, and good luck to them going forward. There's a lot of exciting things happening in the city. Hopefully it all leads to a lot of growth. There's also a lot of challenges facing the city, especially budget-wise.
There's 2 things I think Eric should do. He has to name the subcommittee. Now, when you talk about becoming mayor, that's always included in the discussion. I'd like to be on this committee.
It's part of the deal making, right?
Yeah. I only knew one councilor in my life who said, I don't want to be on any committees. I got to show up at 6. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Danny Rourke, as far as I know, I used to be on the transportation subcommittee. I chaired it. The Rourke Bridge is coming in. Danny's a resident out there. He represented him. Leave Danny there. And I think they should have a subcommittee on the front runner city. And asked Danny if he would chair that and keep that moving.
Yeah, they should. I would create, if I were mayor for a day, I'd create a subcommittee. Maybe you combine front runner link, but you got to find a way to make sure those 2 different projects link up and the interests of those projects match the interests of the city.
I used to sit on the educational subcommittee. I chaired it, and I used to go up to see Marty twice a year, September and April, and Marty would come with this university and talk. And I don't think anyone had ever done that before. And Marty and I would sit down and Marty would bring what the university was doing. He did it both times. If I'm chair of the educational subcommittee, I'd feel a little snubbed if I was losing my power there with the university.
Well, the link project, there is a somewhat of an educational component there in terms of.
But no, you work with the college. You work with the college,
right? But the link project itself is more of a business development.
It is,
especially now as you're looking at even the Songus Arena and the proposed rink and.
But who's it coming through? It's coming through the university. Correct. And that's the educational subcommittee chair. If I was the chair, and maybe
so, you would keep separate committees.
Why not? It doesn't mean you can't meet together. It doesn't mean who's ever the chair of the business subcommittee or which one do they have that deals with that, that they both couldn't come in and do it jointly. I think it'd be great if they did.
All right.
Because you have a subcommittee that works educational, which works with the colleges, and what was the name of that committee? It was for public building development, commercial development, stuff like that. Why not bring them both in?
All right. I like it. Marty Laurie joining us
More
here.
ideas, the better.
Yes, indeed. We're going to get to the whole point of today's podcast, our annual prediction show with Marty Laurie. We'll have some predictions for you both at the local level, the state level, and at the federal level. And at the end of the year, we'll see what was Marty right about and what did he swing and miss on. I can tell you that he can't possibly make a prediction worse than the Power Hour prediction where Hans Stutz predicted Texas Tech to win the national championship in college football. They didn't even score a point, did they?
Miami has the highest payroll. They pay the players now. Miami has the highest payroll in the country.
They stole Georgia's quarterback. They may end up playing Georgia. But, Han, you predicted a Texas Tech national championship and they couldn't even get on the board?
You see how many
first-round playoff game?
You see how many kids are leaving their colleges already? The kid from Indiana, the Heisman Trophy, played for someone else the year before.
And it's destroying schools like UMass Lowell, their basketball program. They worked hard to import this freshman. Cunningham last year was the best player on the team. He was gone.
He's gone.
Within a year. Their whole starting five is now gone. Money in college sports. Who'd have thunk it growing up? We're watching the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse. You're tuned in on this Tuesday, January 6th. We want to thank our Daily Pulse sponsors and all of our podcast sponsors here at Inside Lowell. We start with our Pulse sponsor, Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Massey, New Hampshire. Find him online, realestaterayBooten.com. Again, his newest listing, the Club Diner in Lowell, the historic Club Diner on Dutton Street in Lowell is on the market. The building, the property, and the business. $199,900 if I have the right price. Thanks as well to our friends at WellPoint. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. We want to thank Washington Savings Bank, banking that feels like home. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, TMI Cares, managing and developing their own developments, their own properties. For over 30 years, experience the quality, the care, and the value of making TMI the choice for your home. Thanks as well to Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to generations of families throughout Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. And by the Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in our communities through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Thank you to them. Thank you, as always, to Marty Laurie. All right, we've talked a little local politics and stuff, and we've looked into the crystal ball. Let's talk about some predictions. What do you see? You last year you said there would be significant change on the city council. There was 3 new councilors. We now have a new mayor, which isn't unusual, but, Mayor Rourke did look like he was in pretty good shape to secure a second term. That ultimately fell through. What else can you tell us is going to happen locally, Marty,
I was ready to say
2026?
State rep races never see opponents. I thought 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐿 would run against Tara Hong. He only won by a few votes.
Tara Hong?
Yeah.
It was a close race against Ratty Mom both times.
But, I looked at the present election, and about a week before the election, he was going with Danny Rourke and Kim Scott through the acre with Sidney Lang supporting. I don't know how that, Sidney Lang is now the city council. I don't know how he feels about that. I don't know how.
Not very good, I can tell you that.
I don't know how Vesna Noon feels up in the Highlands. So I don't know if that really hurts 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐿. And I like 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐿. I thought it was bad timing.
I don't think that hurts 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐿 because I think the Vesna Noon, well, the now Tara Hong, but Vesna Noon, Sidney, those camps have always been, against Ratty Mom, which means you're also against 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐿. Though 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐿 and Ratty Mom are from one wing of the Cambodian divide in the city, Vesna Noon, Sidney Lang, Tara Hong from the other. I don't think that dynamic changed because of the city election. What I am wondering, though, is Vesna Noon gave Eric Gitcher his support for mayor.
Right.
Where does Eric Gitcher stand? He is undisputably the top vote getter in the Highlands, right? In his district run, John Dakota did run 2 elections, but never got the vote total that Eric Gitcher got,
right,
and whatnot. Eric Gitcher is a very influential voice in the Highlands.
Very influential.
Does
He won't
does
run.
he sit it out? Does he get involved if there's a potential race with Tara Hong and somebody will challenge Tara Hong, right?
There's a problem there. First of all, he can't run himself. He could, but he'd take a drop in pay. True, he works for the Greater Lowell, and it really handicaps a public employee to get too involved in races because of the Hatch Act. He could. Just saying his support would help. Would help anyone. If I was running up there for that seat, I'd ask his support.
Of course, and not necessarily with him coming out and giving an endorsement, which, by the way, he did for ''К'S'ALa. That the Hatch Act didn't.
Oh, he can endorse,
but his network behind him, he has a good group of people behind him.
He can't raise money. The Hatch Act can restrict you in those areas.
Money raising, okay.
But no, not endorsements. I fell under the federal Hatch Act, and I used to hold signs. The thing with Tara Hong that I've learned, he's a great kid, and I've talked to people.
And a bright kid too.
Bright, and I've talked to people who are like myself, moderate to conservative. What do you think is going to happen? Well, Tara's such a great guy. He's got that likability, you know. Someone will run against him, whether it will be a 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲. He'll have an opponent. He will.
Right.
Who it will be right now, it's tough to say. I think 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 did hurt himself trying to help Paul Rathien. You always do. You make enemies when you do that.
You've long said that to me. Every person that endorses you brings their enemies.
And they don't forget it.
Too.
There's a lot of mayor races over the years where people have had conflicts, councilors, and they won't support each other. I don't think Sidney Lang will ever forget those people knocking doors against him, okay? And Paul Rathien, I thought was a great city councilor, but still, I'm not Sidney Lang. I think he'll have an opponent. Where it comes from, who it will be, I don't know. I thought it would be 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲. I still think it will. Yeah, I think 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 would be his strongest opponent.
It certainly would be a heavyweight race.
Absolutely. And I still think 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 will probably lean in that direction and may be the candidate. If she doesn't win the state Senate seat, Van Howell will have an opponent. There's no question in my mind up there. Who it will be, I'm hearing names now considering run. I won't say it. Well,
we've had a number. Between Cory Belanger, Anthony Lade. We've heard a bunch of rumblings through the years, and there are others that are.
There are others out there.
Whether she wins that Senate seat or not, that they've said they're going to get in.
Right. If she wins it, they'll go in. If she
Dave
doesn't
Mangle
win,
didn't rule it out when he sat in that chair a few weeks ago either.
No.
If she, if she advances to the Senate, he says he's feels that he has a good network of friends there.
And I think whoever wins the state Senate seat will have an opponent. I talked to Joe. I said, Joe, don't run.
Joe Espinola.
Yeah, you have two Democrats with a lot of money to spend. Now, they're going to go into the primary, whoever comes out, you're going to face. And you have to raise all that money in 30, 40 days. It's tough. But whoever wins will have to pull papers in April to run in November. Sure. That seat is up. And there are people now that I have talked to who are really considering running for that seat. It would give them almost a year to prepare for the seat.
Who wins that race? Who becomes the next state senator to replace Ed Kennedy?
You know, that's hard to say because it's February 3rd. If there's a snowstorm and is there mail-in voting or early?
There is mail-in voting, but you have to seek it. The state is not mailing out a thing. And I spoke to Will Rosenberry, who, by the way, will be tomorrow's guest on the Daily Pulse, along with Bill Samaras. It's a very condensed schedule. He doesn't even think the mail-in ballots are going to be in his possession until January 13, which now leaves you 3 weeks to request it, get it out in the mail, get it back in. Again, winter protocol. You got a holiday in there, MLK Day. People still in the holiday blues.
Not only do people not go, but say they don't send the mailman out.
Correct. But what if What if there are snowstorms leading up? What if we have a winter like we had in 2015?
Now the city could call up.
People just hunker down. They don't even care about voting. They just want to plow out of their mess.
If I'm the city manager or the mayor, and there's a snowstorm and the mailmen say we're not coming out, we can't get out.
They better get their asses out there.
We'll send a cruiser.
Don't you have any connections there?
Whatever ballots you have today, because it's all set aside.
Yeah,
we're going to send a cruiser up there because they protect the ballots anyway. And we'll send a cruiser and they're going to pick up the ballots and bring them in.
From where? They can't go
the post
into a
office.
mailbox.
No, those.
Can the post office legally turn over documents to somebody?
If it's their legal owner. They used to have post office. They used to have what was called mail call. And it was good for 30 days, like if you were moving and you came in and picked up your mail every day.
Sure. But I could pick up my mail. Can I pick up somebody else's mail, especially if it's a ballot?
If you're a cop representing the city of Lowell, yeah, why not? If you were, I was a mailman downtown for years. If I knew you worked for the treasurer's office and you came in.
Look, I'm uneasy, and no disrespect to police officers, no disrespect to postal carriers. I'm uneasy about the idea that groups that advocate politically, the post office union and postal workers, police officers, whatever, that they are handling ballots. I have a problem with that, to be honest with you.
I don't have a problem because I used to advocate for that. The reason I've got away from mail-in ballots is and I advocated for years is when I was doing legislative work, is the corruption I'm seeing around the country. People stealing ballots out of box. That's where the corruption is.
Or people mass dropping ballots. That's why I think this is going to come to it. One of my predictions for 2026, and I think you're starting to see it, Donald Trump is starting to put stuff out about election voting and mail-in voting and months of voting instead of an election day. I think this mail-in ballot thing is going to come to a head. How it ends, I don't know, but I think that's going to come to a head.
It's going to come to a head, and so is an IDs. Yeah. Because you can flash an ID, have it ready. I was asked for an ID. But when I'm talking about picking up the mail at the post office.
Who asked you for an ID?
I voted
when you went to vote?
Yeah.
They don't know who you are? You're Marty Laurie, former city councilor. You're a media pundit.
They don't watch Inside Lowell City Life, I guess. I don't know.
No wonder nobody shows up to vote, because they're not watching.
Some of the people knew who I was, but you still have to ask. And I don't have a problem producing an ID. But what I'm talking about is the city manager calling the post office, which is, could either be the Billerica or, I don't know if they work out of Lowell. Downtown, but you would take all the ballots and give it to them. And I don't think there's a problem with it. Maybe someone else does. I don't know.
All right. So still up in the air on you think it's a coin flip between Van
I think Rodney's going to win, but because
I think you've said that before.
Because of and people are telling me Vanna's going to win.
Depending on who you talk to, I personally think that's a coin. I think flip a coin. I still think that's a tight race one way or another. And the weather, the date, the February 3rd date, special election, off season, weather, all the other factors that go in. Two well-known candidates in Lowell. How well do they get known outside the city? What's the impression they make when they first go outside the city? All of this is a great unknown. I think you can flip a coin and be just as accurate as any prognosticator.
And the thing is, I'm seeing now on Facebook people who support, probably Vanna, with the link of how you can go to the Secretary of State and ask for a ballot. They see it. You're going to have to win the ballot with mail-ins because of the weather. But people are really undecided. I give Rodney a little bit of an edge because I don't think Vanna can win in Drake and Pepperell. I mean, Drake and Tingsboro. She was in Pepperell with Jamie Eldridge. If I'm Rodney, I'm over in Drake. Look at Jamie Eldridge is back in it, right? Those two towns are much more conservative than Pepperell. Sure. And I think the key to it is she's going to do well in Lowell, but Rodney has a lot of support. I don't know if she can win Drake or Tingsboro. Now, do they want to get up and vote for Rodney? Get out? I don't know. But I don't see her winning those two towns, which is probably why Joe's running as an independent.
So you mentioned Joe Espinola. Sam Meas is trying to mount a sticker campaign, get his name written or a sticker placed on 300 Republican ballots so he can then be on the ballot. And which means you then have 3 people: Joe Espinola, you may, Jeannie Balkus is also bouncing it around.
Right.
I understand she did not get enough signatures to get her name on automatically on the ballot, so she would have to do a sticker mail-in campaign on March 3rd itself. Is February 3rd the election, Marty? I've talked to Joe Espinola. I'm sure you have as well. He thinks he's got a shot. Is the winner of this election going to be decided in the Democratic primary?
One of the votes they took in the State House, and Jerry did a great article on InsideLowell. They're almost identical voting records. It's all the speaker. And if I'm Joe, I'm going to bring out in Drake, where I live, there was a vote to extend 1 year the penalty for people who didn't follow the MBTA, which Drake hasn't. They would not have to pay the penalties for another year. And both of those candidates voted against it. If I'm Joe, I'm going through Drake with that.
So this is what I'm thinking. It's a tall
one other
task.
thing. If I'm Joe, right now there's 12 ballot questions, probably more.
Yes.
Who's running the state? If there's 12 ballot questions, I'm saying to people, hey, listen, they don't listen to us. This many, you need 85,000 signatures. They don't listen down there.
You took me exactly where I went. I think it's a long shot, but if anybody is going to beat an established Democrat in Massachusetts and here locally, you've got to make hay on key issues. You've got, and by the way, word of advice to anybody running against Tara Hong is if you better adopt the audit. You better adopt a couple of other controversial, the miles driven legislation, which now is going to limit how many miles you can drive, or else they're going to tax the Jesus out of you. What do they call those, harm reductions and whatever. I take these issues, and again, the auditor has another ballot question on there this time about public records requests. I take these and I hammer those issues home every single day. I'm not sure it works. I don't think it works. But if there's any chance to beat a Democrat in any of these races here in Lowell, Greater Lowell, and statewide, you better get on these. And by the way, you better keep your promise when you say you're going to support the auditor.
Vanna's biggest plus is the Democratic Socialists. Look what they did to Johnny Dakota. Look what they did in New York. They go out, they're going to go to the convention. Right now, you're running for delegates. They're going to run delegates. This is what they've done. This is why I left the party. They go, and I give them full credit. They have probably 80% of the delegates at the convention. So no one other than Democrat, Socialist, or extreme left are going to get the nomination. And they work hard. Vanna has a lot of support in that community. They're going to work their tail off for Vanna. Yes, and she's a nice person. You can't say, talk to Vanna. I don't like Vanna. Vanna's a nice person.
Conversely, Rodney Elliott he released a list of endorsements, a number of unions, which is, shocking. But he's come a long way with the unions, right, over the last 10 years. But also a who's who of current Lowell city councilors, Lowell officials, minus Eric Gitcher and John Dakota up in the Highlands. Interesting. He's got pretty much every Dracut Select Board member.
Former Mayor Rourke.
Former Mayor Rourke is staying out of the race. I actually asked him about it. He told me that's not my race. I'm not endorsing. I'm staying out of it. But you've got. So do these endorsements ultimately matter, or is it a ground game? And but when I say do the endorsements matter, I mean, does the network that these endorsements come with, does that matter? If I'm a supporter of, say, Lee Gitcher, a name that was on there, union member, whatever, do I automatically go with the people that they've supported and whatnot?
I used to, because I did legislative work and I knew what those votes mattered. But to get the rank and file to follow is very hard. Most of them are pretty conservative. I'd say,
that's Kamala Harris.
We're supporting John Kerry, and they keep right on walking. For the mayor's race, let's go back for a second. We're talking about endorsements. 4 years ago, when you and I were doing the radio, I talked about Sakari Chow being the next mayor because of the endorsements. It was a year where the state, all the constitutional seats are up. Mm-hmm. This year's the same. Eric Gitcher is going to endorse the governor. He's going to endorse the senators. his endorsement.
Do you think he will? You think Eric Gitch is going to be the kind of mayor to get involved?
Oh, yeah.
In those races?
They're going to call him for an endorsement.
Do you think he gets involved in, say, Moulton Markey? Or Healy versus, pick a name out of the Republican hat, short sleeve, 𝐃𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲, whoever?
He's a Democrat. They're going to ask him for an endorsement. And it doesn't hurt you, because if you think the person's going to win, it doesn't hurt you. Sakari Chow's political, and Eric's not right now king of the city, but that can bring him a little bit farther out. And that his endorsement for governor, his endorsement for Senate and Congress, yeah, it's going to matter.
I was going to say I can't see Eric Gitcher getting that involved as mayor in a lot of these races, but he did in the Register of Deeds race. He was well out front. I don't know if he got into he didn't get into the Tara Hong Ratty Mom one that I'm aware of.
He's prime real estate now. They're going to come to Lowell. No one cares about a city councilor's endorsement. You're on the page with 300 others. The mayor, Worcester, Lowell. You're it by yourself. Okay. Now, to what we were talking about a second ago, before I changed
state elections.
Yeah.
What do we see? Other state issues, I should say. Any predictions for you?
I think Maura Healey may step aside. When I'm looking at what's going on in Minnesota, and now there was a whistleblower in Maine, we already have the SNAP.
They're now coming in Ohio and California, by the way.
And
are they coming to? Will we see these issues come to Massachusetts?
Of course that we will. And Massachusetts said to Trump,
"That's so cynical, Marty.
We're not going to give you the information." Well, the federal government gives you the money. You have to give it to them. Okay, they can say whatever they want. They're going to come, and she's already had 4 or 5 people leave her cabinet. The guy that got arrested for cocaine or drugs out in Springfield, now they're finding out they gave him too much money going out the door. They're trying to, I think she has too much, and she's going to, and the Democrats, they have Kim Driscoll, who probably should have been governor. Kim Driscoll turned Chelsea around, Salem around. Kim Driscoll is the real deal. And I think there's probably people with 3 people in the Republican Party running, saying to Marva, whispering in her ear, why don't you step aside? Why don't you step aside?
So I'm going to put you on the record because you famously predicted that Joe Biden would not be the Democratic nominee. Yeah. And it looked like you were wrong up until he got set up and
set him up at the debate.
3 months before the election, your prediction came correct. Man. So is it your prediction right now, as we sit here today,
I think
January 6th, you say Maura Healey, despite saying she's running for re-election, is out?
Yeah, I think she's going to step aside.
Like Tim Walz? Because Tim Walz said he was running and he stepped aside. Is she going to step aside? Because
she doesn't have the government taking out a president where he can. It's like making your announcement on Thanksgiving. You know, he got lucky.
Does she step out because she just doesn't want to run anymore, or because what happened to Tim Walz in Minnesota is discovered in Massachusetts and she can't run?
She has much better PR people than that. They'll come up with a reason. I don't see Maura Healey running. It's just, when I looked at her cabinet, we've talked about this in the past, how many people stepped aside. Now you got an employee out in Springfield with the drugs and the gun. And by the way, with the new gun laws in Massachusetts, is he in jail? Is he in jail?
No, only the legal gun owners end up in.
And you also have a group down at the State House. They haven't put the bill in yet. They've let out, 50 people, a parole board, on first and second degree murderers. I think it's up to 50. The governor names the parole board, okay? Now, I'm not saying she named any of them, but the parole board's now under the spotlight. Now they're talking about bringing a bill down the State House. Anyone convicted of first-degree murder of any age at 25 years will be eligible for parole. Okay? Well, of course there's no one in prison. They let them all out. But I think Maura Healey, and that has nothing to do with her, but it's how the people view the state. What's going on in Minnesota, I don't know how much Walz had, and maybe they haven't told, Healey, we have these problems. But I think with everything going on, she's a fighter. I know her. I haven't talked to her in about 2 years. She's a fighter, and she may, but I think there's probably people whispering in her ear saying, you might want to step aside now. and let Kim Driscoll take it.
If she steps aside, Kim Driscoll, the front runner, does the auditor then get into the race, Diana DeZoglio?
Oh, she'll still get into the race because down at the State House, 12 ballot questions, they're too arrogant. They don't listen. They're so embellished in this power, and they just don't listen. Maybe this will shake it up. I don't know.
So my prediction, I'm going to piggyback on your prediction. So if Marty Laurie's prediction that Maura Healey does not run comes true, my prediction is the state auditor will run.
I think she's running. That was another prediction.
She's not. She has said steadfastly that she will not run.
I think she's running
with Maura Healey in the race.
Whether Maura Healey in the race or not, I think she runs.
I like that. So you said well, what's she waiting for? It's now January 6th. You better get in that race pretty quickly. She can raise money. There's 3 Republicans raising a ton of money.
Yeah, well, she raised a lot of signatures in no time to get on the ballot. Diana DeZoglio, I've known for a long time. She's a fighter. You don't put time limits on her. What you do is these are her issues, and don't put a time limit on her. I don't think she cares about time limits. If she thinks she's right, she's going to run, and I think she is going to run.
All right. There's some heavyweight predictions there from Marty. Anything else state-wise? Moulton Markey, will we see? Will a Republican ultimately recapture the corner office on Beacon Hill? What else do you see on the state?
I don't know if the state. It's a shame because everything going on in the state, the Republicans still can't get people to run for state rep, and why I don't know, and I don't know why. It just blows my mind. For state rep or state senate, I know Republicans in Lowell who could win seats. They just don't run. Not everyone's politically active, but
I mean, if you have a good job and a good career, state rep isn't really all that sexy. And by the way, neither is school committee / city council, which is kind of where you establish your political chops to jump up to state
and you
rep
get
and
beat
then
up.
Move up. Right.
You get beat up in the media.
So if you have a career, if you work for a nonprofit, though, those are great jobs.
I'm trying to think who else in the state might not run. The state treasurer is having some real problems. I think
Goldberg?
over this thing with the marijuana with Shannon.
O'Brien?
She's well liked. Shannon O'Brien. I didn't know. I remember Sharon from my days in the party. Very well respected. That hurts her.
Personally, I hope Jim Dowd and Skanska spill the beans on Deb Goldberg, the treasurer from 2017, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't know, but I think that Shannon O'Brien, she's one of the people who is really well respected in the state, and I think that could hurt her. Whether she gets, no one from in party is going to run because the Democrat, the extreme left is going to own the convention, and I don't know if they're happy with Maura. I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. You don't know what
it should be.
They're taking out Chuck Schumer and down in New York. He's not going to. They're saying he can't win re-election. And right now, nationwide, well, we'll get into that when we go nationwide.
Well, there we go. Federal, nationwide. What happens? We got the
more
famous
people
midterms.
More people leave New York to go to Venezuela. I'm serious. With the oils down there now, and that the people down there are ecstatic. The only people who aren't.
What are you talking about? I see the 5 protesters show up.
The Boston Herald. Did you see the paper on Saturday or Sunday? The signs were already made.
How does that happen so quickly? By the way, you ran a campaign, so you had to get signs made, right? How long does that take to come up with a design and print it and get it mounted onto the sticks? It takes a while, huh?
You got to raise some money to pay for that.
It's easy if you have the same sign that says "No Kings" and then you cover up the "No" with "Pro Kings."
These were real signs.
Okay with
these
that.
were professional, and at the bottom it said "Socialist."
Yeah,
and I'm saying to myself, I said, "What? They're protesting already?" And it was socialist.
Joe Soros Printing Company is really good. They have a 24-hour turnaround.
They must. They're making good money. And then you look, the Democratic Socialists nationwide, they work hard. And right now I think AOC and Bernie Sanders was always winning. You're going to see a major split in the Democratic Party this year. Everyone's saying the Democrats will win in November. I think they may pick up seats in the House, not the Senate. But they're going to be so split. I saw Fetterman on TV. Well, this thing down in Venezuela, it's not a bad thing. Well, they're going out of their mind. The senator from Connecticut, the junior senator.
Chris Murphy. He's out of his mind, by the way. Is he all right? CBS got him bad.
I was watching the news, and he came out attacking this move in Venezuela. Then they took out a statement he made in 2019. If Trump was that great, he would have taken out Maduro in 2019.
Again, this is why I keep hearing these predictions about midterm, blue waves and stuff. I don't see it because it's so easy in a campaign. By the way, Democratic Party is borrowing money.
They're broke.
They're broke.
They're broke.
Which means they're not fundraising. And especially on the national scale, money is the mother's milk of politics, Marty.
It's all money. And the thing is, where I make the difference, the Democrat socialists work their tails off. They really, where is AOC and Bernie Sanders getting the money to travel around the country? But they work hard. Look what they did down in New York.
From the nonprofits who are donating to them, Marty. You saw it in Minnesota where these fake daycare centers were giving money back to political
That's why
candidates.
They didn't want the USA.
Doge. Yeah.
They didn't know. Now, it's how you do it. Having the head of your new organization with a chainsaw on his picture on the radio, on TV, and that's not the way to do it. But the Democrat socialists are going to work their tails off. They run candidates, and unless the Republicans and the mainstream Democrats aren't awake, they're going to take them out. Congressmen and senators.
So, I think people are awake. I think the mainstream Democrats are done. I think they've lost that civil war. You're saying the split is coming? The split came a long time ago.
Well, I think they still
lost it. I don't think they can control anymore. They lit the fire, and they can't control it anymore. You're seeing it.
I think there's still some out there by state. Remember, this isn't national. They run by state.
Correct.
In some states, they're going to be safe. The congressmen are going to be safe. But it doesn't mean the Democrat socialists aren't in those states trying, and they're very well, and they work. I give them credit. They work extremely hard.
But their problem in having to pick up the seats, well, I think they'll win the primary. As you can see, Schumer's petrified of AOC. So he shut the government down for the longest time in history because he's petrified of AOC. But when you get down into the race where now somebody wins that nomination, and I think increasingly you're going to see the Democratic Socialists, and let's call them what they really are, the Democratic Marxists. Zoran Mamdani is a communist. You heard his speech. It's the same. He believes in the manifesto more than the Constitution.
He came out yesterday, from what I was reading, and he said public employees can't make, I guess, donations to Jewish organizations. He's taken the security off around synagogues, and he's loosening the language, I believe, if I got this right, on what anti-Semitism is. I was shocked. I'm sitting there reading. You can't tell a public employee who they're going to donate to. You can't.
A king can, by the way. Will we see the No Kings protests around?
Oh, no, not around him.
But so now you're going to take these. I think the extreme left is going to win most of the primaries that they challenge, much like the Tea Party. Much like the Tea Party created headaches for the Republican Party in the John Boehner days and whatnot.
Right.
And then they're going to get into the general elections where the center tends to win, the independents, and Chris Murphy's statement now criticizing Donald Trump, Chuck Schumer's statement criticizing Donald Trump over Maduro, Joe Biden's statement criticizing Trump over Maduro from 2020. Now you're going to read their statements completely opposite now, and the media is not controlling things now.
No, they're not going to.
This is controlling people's news, social media, Twitter, and whatnot. And oh, by the way, have you watched CBS Network News this week? New head of CBS News. Check out the CBS Evening News at 6:30 tonight if you get a chance. You're going to be stunned at how far right they shifted.
Well, CNN, after the election, was starting to shift. I don't know if they went back.
There's
MSNBC was the only one still on the left.
MS Now is still the old MSNBC.
BBC got shaken up.
BBC's in trouble. PBS is done now. You saw the money arm of PBS, right?
It's always, and that was one of the questions.
They're now out of business. They're defunct. They went out of business yesterday. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting, I think.
Right. All this money that went to the larger nonprofit, and I feel bad for the nonprofits who get a few dollars and they work hard and they're really into helping the poor. Then you have these larger organizations who I won't name, And the money, that was always the question. What are they doing with all the money? Well, I pay Teddy $100,000. You're cutting donations to the Democratic Party, which you can do legally. But
Sure. But it shouldn't be with taxpayer dollars.
when I was on your show on the radio, I used to talk about a website. It's Secret Money. I forget the name of it. I haven't
Not Act Blue, right? That's the
no.
quote unquote legit.
This was it's about secret money. If you Google secret money, we'll bring it to you, and they track on both sides, Republicans and Democrats, who's raising money, where it's coming from, and put down secret money, you'll probably get it. But both parties are under the gun. And they watch everyone and where all this money's coming from. Democrats, unions, they're always talking about the rich supporting the Republicans. You'll see where the donations are. From what I remember is money donates to both sides.
Money hedges its bets. Smart money hedges.
It's like at the racetrack. Okay, we're going to put 50 on this. We're going to put 49 on this.
Right, yeah,
that's where what I always thought.
That's how the smart money goes.
I think it's called open secrets.
Open secrets. That's right. Yes.
And but yeah, it'll look if you want. But nationally, whatever happens in New York, I don't know if Trump's going to give him money. He's promised the world. They can't handle their own money down there. They don't have that type of money. I think you're going to see the American public shift on Venezuela.
You think they'll actually join the Venezuelan people in celebrating freedom, or will they?
What I'm concerned about, and I don't know if it's this way. During war, if you take over a country, you're responsible for the citizens, the water, the food, medicine. We took out a leader. Now, are we responsible for that? And are we living up to our responsibility? Or is this new government that's coming in, do we give them a shot and say, hey, you guys run it?
Well, it's still the same government. It's just the vice president who was a rabid anti-Trumper, but suddenly she's like, well, we'll work with them. Ultimately, the hope Marty, is that they host an election, and the shadow woman who's had to go hide in Italy or wherever she ended up going and hiding can go back and run a legitimate campaign. And you have legitimate elections, because we talk about stolen elections here, and everybody will agree that Maduro stole those elections, as Chavez did ahead of time. Oh, and blatant fraud, complete agreement. Trump, Biden, Chris Murphy, Schumer, McConnell, everybody agrees that Maduro stole that election.
But, what surprises me is I believe up until about 20 years ago, Venezuela had a legitimate elected government.
And a very well-to-do country based on their abundance of oil there.
In 1989, we snatched Noriega out of Panama. Now, I think a lot of it had to do with the canal, but the drug cartels were funneling a lot of money through the banks that he ran, and so that had a lot to do with it. I forget if we assumed the government at that point, or did they have a special election. But it's not the first time we did it, and Trump is crazy. You just don't know what he's going to do next.
Well, I mean, I think he just wanted to collect that $25 million reward, because if you remember, there was a bounty placed on him, I believe originally by President Barack Obama, on Maduro's head. Trump increased the bounty, and then Biden in 2024 increased the bounty to $25 million. So for my lefty friends out there who are all upset about this, and again, I'd ask you to just go celebrate with the Venezuelan people if you want camaraderie. But if you place a bounty on a foreign leader's head and try them criminally, or indict them criminally, as Joe Biden did, as Barack Obama did, and as Donald Trump did, why are you so upset when somebody actually goes and collects
Donald Trump?
If Trump asked for the reward, I could see them being upset, but he did what you wanted done, but let's be honest, didn't have the balls to do it, so he did it.
How does he go back to the Ukraine and Russia and say, okay, well, I want to do this or that, after he went in and snatched the leader? Now, my prediction, another one, is Marco Rubio will be the first one in Havana when they liberate that island. I don't know if anyone listening has ever gone down to Ybor City.
In Tampa Bay, great place.
Love it. We went down there with a young woman named Elena Hernandez. She worked with Lila at the Lowell Sun. She was brought up in a concentration camp in Cuba. Her father was jailed by the
concentration camp in Cuba.
Oh yeah.
Wait, I thought Marxists and socialists were the answer. You mean
no.
Really?
Yeah, her Catholic Charity's got her family out of, I remember right, to Spain. Then they went to New Orleans.
Did you used to teach this history to your former Democratic colleagues who've lost their minds and suddenly think that this is the answer? Have you?
About 20 years ago, maybe 30, we went down to visit Alina in Tampa Bay. She lived right outside it. I think it was Brandon. And we went to Ybor City. That's where they had the boats left to attack Cuba, during the...
Yep.
And what a fabulous place. And they are waiting so badly to go back and take their homeland. They are the most conservative group of people I ever met, all Republican, staunch Republican. And I think Rubio will be the first person in Cuba. Cuba will fall this year. It's going to fall very
without
quickly.
Maduro propping it up financially. Yes, Cuba will be next.
And the Soviet and the Russians don't want any part of it now. Even China's backing away. They've got their own. But I think that government falls this year. And Marco Rubio, as a gift to him, he'll be the first one in there.
So geopolitically, you believe that doing what Donald Trump did with Maduro was
I have no problem
a win
with
for the United States of America and the Western Hemisphere?
Ronald Reagan, I think, was the president who waged war on drugs. We have a war on drugs. No one really did anything.
Of course they did. It was like putting the bounty on the war on drugs, bounty on Maduro, and then nobody did anything.
Now, all of a sudden, Trump goes down and snatches this guy. If I'm the president of Colombia or whatever they have down there now, I'm concerned. Mexico's very concerned. And the amount of drugs coming in. If I was whoever was launching these people out of Central and South America to walk all the way to the American border, they had a heartfelt story in the editorials a couple of weeks ago. This poor family walked all the way to America from either Colombia or Venezuela. They got turned around at the border, had to walk all the way back. You know what they were having for Christmas dinner? Lasagna. I nearly cried. Well, they have lasagna for Christmas dinner after walking. I don't think anyone walked. I don't know who was moving the people. I have no idea.
Oh, you have an idea, Marty. Come on. It's
people don't wake up.
NGOs in conjunction with foreign adversaries.
I don't wake up at 5 in the morning and say, we're walking to my wife from Colombia with our 3 kids, or 3, 5, and 9, to the American border. I just don't see it.
They weren't packing MREs. They were getting nice meals.
I don't know who brought them or how, but this is all going to come out and before this is over. But I think anyone whose family died over the past 30, 40 years through drugs, this fight is finally, or anyone now who's suffering, this country's... It's bad.
Well, you mentioned something. You made it. It was a joke, but it wasn't really a joke. I think you were right talking about all the Venezuelans leaving New York. Think about it. I believe the Venezuelans was the largest migration in the world. More so than Southeast Asians. More so than anybody else. If these Venezuelans decide to go back home, your housing crisis in the United States of America gets significantly alleviated.
The United States government, from when Pam Bondi put out something, I believe, yesterday, if they go home, they're going to get this, and this. And because they want those people back to rebuild the government. And but, I think something came out from Pam Bondi yesterday that if they go back, they'll be well taken. Maybe they'll fly them back.
So, we won't need ADUs and all these other, build to MBTA community stuff if we just make the world a better place so people don't have to.
I think Maura Healey, one of the reasons why, and I didn't really get into it, was the migrant situation. How much was spent? $3 billion?
At least that's what she's admitted to.
Yeah, $3 billion.
Okay.
And
still spending.
All these people are running, even though they don't have opponents. The spotlight is now on the speaker and everything else. And I think they're going to nudge her and say, what's going on in Minnesota, these other states. They cut benefits for housing, a SNAP, to 5 states: California, Minnesota, New York. Yesterday,
Illinois. Was Massachusetts on that list?
No, Massachusetts wasn't.
We're gonna be.
Nothing's come out yet. They haven't proven anything.
Well, the two Haitian guys who were arrested in Mattapan for the little small, the 150 foot square foot. There was a store that was making a ton of money.
And once you have that, and there's fraud out there, I don't think it's going to be good for this. I don't think it's going to be good for any state. I really don't. I really.
But it might be good for the American people and the taxpayers of the United States.
I think it's going to prove a point.
And ultimately, isn't that what it should be about, Marty? Shouldn't government be working for the people of the country, of the state, and of the city?
The governor of California, from what I understand, has withdrew the lawsuit against the government for the railway to nowhere around California. Billions of dollars any tracks been laid down yet? No. And
almost like that electric infrastructure there. Where did the money go? And
the sad part is the people in Massachusetts who run the politicians, they're all good people. I don't think they're criminal. They're all good. They're all honest people. They let the wrong people come forward, and there's not enough oversight. And I think that's what Diane 𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷 was trying to get to. I think they've lost track of oversight in this state as they did in many others. But like I said, the luckiest man in America, congratulations. He's waiting to say he's not running for governor, and they go down to Venezuela, snatch the president. Hey, get the media in here. I'm not running.
Tim Walz, love it. Marty Laurie, always good. Okay, a bunch of predictions there. The biggie, Maura Healey decides not to seek re-election.
Kim, the Democrats have really a great person right behind her. And that's one of the reasons why I think she might be getting whispers in her ear to step aside.
But you and I both say Diana 𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷 challenges.
I think so, yeah. I think, and she may win.
There's our big predictions. Always good. We're going to look back at these at the end of the year, Marty.
Always do.
Thank you so much. Our first interview show on the Daily Pulse of 2026. Of course, yesterday we did a live broadcast from the city council inauguration and mayoral selection. But
could
Marty
you hear
Laurie,
the people down there yesterday?
I could hear them, but they didn't have microphones on all the councils, so it was difficult to pick up on the broadcasts, both mine and I'm told LTC's, who voted for who. So, but I could hear them in the hall.
Remember, the keys to that vote yesterday wasn't the mayor's race. It was the vice mayor, who usually that's not an issue. And John Dakota lost. And that new wave that I talked about last year that came in made it Vesna got 7 votes.
All right. We'll see how it plays out for the city of Lowell. Hopefully continued progress for the city. Marty Laurie, thank you as always, my friend. Thank you for tuning in to the Daily Pulse on this Tuesday, January 6th. Tomorrow, Will Rosenberry, Director of Elections for the City of Lowell, will join former Lowell Mayor Bill Samaras and I. We'll talk about the upcoming the State Senate special election. Tight deadlines, gangs. It's now January 6th. By the way, happy Insurrection Day, everybody. January 7th tomorrow. You've got less than a month till the State Senate Democratic primary in February. We're going to talk to Will Rosenberry about everything. If you want to vote in that election, you better pay attention because there are deadlines, especially if you want to vote by mail. You're going to have to learn how to do it. It's not the usual process that you're used to from state and federal elections where the ballots, where you're asked if you want a ballot and whatnot, you have to request it. I forget what we have Thursday. We got, of course, our live show again on Friday. Special programming, Monday, January 19th on the Daily Pulse, as we're speaking of that state Senate special election and Democratic primary. Rodney Elliott, Vanna Howard, the state representatives vying for that state Senate seat and the Democratic nomination for that state Senate seat will be right here in the WellPoint studios for a debate that we will make part of our Daily Pulse on Monday, January 19th. More of that going forward. For now, it's Teddy Panos thanking you again for tuning in. As always, going to be another big year here on the Daily Pulse. Stay warm, stay safe, and we'll see you on the other side.